Okay, I'm just going to get this out of the way. I loved Iron Man 3. I loved it. I thought it was better than Iron Man 2. Well, then again, you could have put a piece of shit on a, film projector, and I would have said, that was better than Iron Man 2, still. I didn't think it was better than Iron Man 1. I thought it was just as good as Iron Man 1, and I thought it was a really good movie. I thought it was really entertaining and really awesome. I just want to get that out of the way. My rating for the movie, I'm going to give it an 8. It was a solid action movie. I still definitely think that you should watch it, especially if you're, a fan of the Marvel movies. And so far, Phase 3 is off, to a good start. I'm really looking forward to Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and of course Avengers 2. I'm going to get into something later in this video, which will probably make you guys think that I hate this movie. But I want to clarify, I don't hate this movie. I love it. I thought it was great, and I was glad I saw it, and I'm glad I paid money for this. But I had one certain problem with this film, and other, little minor nitpicky parts about the movie, but one minor thing really fucking pissed me off, and is a reason why I'm giving this film, an 8 rather than, a 10 out of 10, a 9.5, or, a 9 out of 10, or an 8.5 out of 10. And it's that one reason, which I'll get into in a minute. But before that, I want to get into some of the things that I did like about the movie. One is the acting. The acting was pretty much great. I'm going to go through it quick. Robert Downey Jr., don't really need to say why. Go watch my last two, Iron Man movie reviews to know why. He's Robert Downey Jr., he's Iron Man, that's awesome. Second, thing is Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. This is probably my, my favorite, out of Pepper Potts in the 3 Iron Man movies, and with Gwyneth Paltrow playing her. Because she's not bitching and annoying as hell like she was in Iron Man 2. She gets a lot more to do than the first Iron Man movie. I don't mean that in a bad way. I thought in Iron Man 1 they were just setting her up to do more things in sequels and stuff like that. She was barely in Avengers also, and she didn't really do much in that, so, But I thought she did a whole hell of a lot more in this movie. And a lot of badass stuff, happened. Especially with her. She actually gets to kick some ass towards the end with the extremist formula, but they took that out of her. Why would you not keep that? It's awesome. Dude, it pissed me off. That was one of the minor problems I had. But she was also a big plot point in the movie, which was really awesome and really, really cool. So I actually liked her a lot more in this than I did in the last 2 movies. She did a whole hell of a lot more, and I actually hope that they do a lot more, with her in the future. Such as the rescue armor from the comics. They kind of alluded to that. I like a little Easter egg, like that in here. With her wearing the Mark 42. That was really awesome. I really liked that. We also had Don Cheadle return as Jim Rhodes, Rhodey Rhodes, whatever. As, aka War Machine, but now Iron Patriot. He did really good in the movie, and he got a lot of really funny lines and a lot of badass action scenes than he did in Iron Man 2. He overall, everything that was wasted in Iron Man 2, besides Whiplash, was given more in Iron Man 2. So this movie, was given more in Iron Man 3. I'm sorry about that. So this movie was kind of, sort of making up a little bit for Iron Man 2, because Iron Man 2 was a piece of shit. So, there you go. I really would have liked to see the War Machine armor a little bit more. That's just what I personally think. I really like the War Machine armor a little bit more. We finally get another movie with War Machine in it for more than just one action scene. And, it's just spray painted red, white, and blue. Especially seeing as how it's not done how the Iron Patriot armor was done in the comics with Norman Osborn. Then again, I didn't expect them to do that because they don't have the film rights to do Norman Osborn, so, whatever. I thought it was just kind of fan service, not really good fan service, so fan disservice, but whatever. I thought Don Cheadle was good in it, but I really would have liked to see him as War Machine instead of Iron Patriot. I get what they did in Iron Patriot, but we couldn't have seen a little bit more of the War Machine armor, especially seeing as how it's Mark II War Machine. That's just something I didn't like. We also have Guy Pearce as Aldrich Killian, who I'm not really that big of a fan of Guy Pearce's films. I haven't really seen Guy Pearce movies, whatever. But he did, alright in the film. Just personally, that's all I have to say. And we also have Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. I'll get into that later. Something I also liked in this were the action scenes, because they were actually more than a minute long, and they didn't end anticlimactically, and we got a lot more action scenes, and they were better, and they got better and bigger and more awesome as they went along, which is really cool. And the best thing about it is that some of these action scenes, pretty much most of them, don't involve the Iron Man armor in it, and that's really good because it can still make some good action scenes without having Iron Man every single place, even though he's the main title character. And for some of you who are probably wondering, did I hate the fact that Iron Man, even though he's in the title, wasn't really in this movie that much, especially after Iron Man 2 didn't really have him in it that much? I personally fucking loved it because it was actually essential to the plot and wasn't pointless. Yeah, I know. Tony Stark was dying in the, in the last Iron Man movie, so he couldn't really wear the Iron Man armor because it was going to accelerate, his death. But that would end up pointless because that was just fixed like that, like with the snap of a finger in the last movie, so it was entirely pointless. Here, the armor, he doesn't even have the armor, it's not working, and he has to basically improvise stuff on his own. Like, he has to go to, like, a Home Depot, he has to, like, buy a bunch of shit and just, like, use it on a couple of these guards. Like, he has to get, like, a nail gun, he shoots them with a nail gun, he puts, like, a pieces of metal on, like a gardening glove, and like with a little battery on his wrist, and he just like zaps people with like a hand taser. That was awesome. Like, half the shit that he does in this movie, he doesn't even have the Iron Man armor, yet he's still badass. And that kind of does go with the plot of, does the man make the armor, or does the armor make the man? And Tony Stark is still resourceful even though he doesn't have the Iron Man suit, which actually goes along with the plot that we were advertised, unlike Iron Man 2, which advertised a plot that we were never given and gave us a bunch of shitty dialogue and unfunny jokes. That is the reason why I like this movie better, because it gave us what they advertised. Except with the Mandarin, but I'll get to that later. I also liked pretty much just all the humor. It was funny as hell, too. Pretty much the best part in the movie for me personally was the interaction between Tony and this one little kid named Harley, I believe, who's played by Ty Simpkins. I hope I'm saying that right. If not, I'm very sorry. That was pretty much the best part in the movie, because usually in action movies, or pretty much any superhero, sci-fi, action film, whatever, and you have a kid in it interacting with adults, it's always cheesy, it's always, lovey-dovey, stupid and just annoying. Example, The Phantom Menace. It's always cheesy, it's always stupid, and you probably expect that here, but Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. says the most messed up things to this kid, and it is so damn funny. Like, it's so messed up, but at the same time, you're laughing your ass off. Like, you would never say stuff to this kid. Tony Stark just says that to this kid, and it's so unexpected. Like at one point, the kid says, oh, my, dad left 6 years ago, and then Tony's just like, oh, dad's leave, stop being a pussy. Like, it was so messed up and so, like, dark and, like, messed up, but at the same time, it was really fucking funny. So, that whole section of the movie was my favorite part of the movie, personally. I mean, you could have just showed that to me instead of everything else. I would have been like, yeah, I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10. That was awesome. That is just funny. If you hate everything else, you at least have to love that. If not, go see that movie just for that part. That was hilarious. It also had a really cool action scene that didn't involve the Iron Man armor. That was awesome. I'm trying to look up some other stuff I had that I really liked. Oh, in the beginning, there's actually a cameo by a character named Jensen, who was in the first movie, and he's a guy that helped Tony create the Mark I Iron Man armor when he was in captivity in the cave in Afghanistan. That was really cool, but kind of begs the question, why didn't they all mention that in Iron Man? So, yeah, that was obviously forced in there, but I still did like it. I mean, yeah, you can kind of, debate whether or not they mention each other in, the first Iron Man movie, but whatever. Mention that. And I'll get into that when I get to the problems. Yeah, problems. Those are just problems I got right now. Oh, they do reference the Avengers movie, which I did expect them to do because post-Avengers, why not? They mention the Avengers and the Avengers plots, some Avengers references, and they're actually subtle and actually are essential to the plot. Like Tony, the kid mentions, the whole wormhole from the first movie, and that triggers, an anxiety attack from Tony, which is essential to the plot, because we learn that he has anxiety attacks like that. That's subtle, and it actually has a point to the plot. That was something I did like. Okay, let's look at something else. The after credits scene, I didn't wait until after I saw that I saw it online. I would have at least liked it to allude to something else Avengers related, but, you know, whatever. Alright, yeah, I think I should get, I think I can get to the, yeah, I'll get to the bad stuff right now. Just gotta find them. Bear with me, I'm sorry about that. Alright, let's get into some of the bad stuff first. Now, mainly the bad thing with the first Iron Man, with Iron Man 3, is that, this is the problem. The Mandarin. The Mandarin is the biggest problem with Iron Man 3, because he's not the Mandarin. And now, I just want to clarify that going into this movie, I was not expecting them to do the Mandarin from the comics, because that was so silly. Like, pretty much the Mandarin from the comics was a guy who had, 10 magical rings. Yeah, 10 magical rings, and they were alien technology ring, and he worshipped this dragon god named Fing Fang Foom, and when I heard that, and I heard that they wanted to use the Mandarin for the third Iron Man movie, I laughed my ass off, because I had no idea how they were going to adapt that character from comics to film and make it actually, like, serious and not stupid as hell and silly. Especially because he doesn't even seem like an Iron Man villain. It's like Batman fighting, like, a Superman villain. It doesn't really make much sense. But what pissed me off wasn't that they didn't take that character and put it exactly in the film. What pissed me off about this Mandarin in the movie is the potential that the potential that this character had. What they could have done with this character, but didn't. That's what pissed me off. Because the Mandarin in this movie is not a threatening terrorist that's kind of like Osama bin Laden, which they do mention in the film. Pretty much, he's just some drunk, pill-popping actor who was hired by Guy Pearce's character, Aldrich Killian, to be the face of all these bombings that weren't really bombings. They were just experiments gone wrong. That's my fucking problem. Not because they didn't adapt the character from the comic, but the potential that this character had and the potential that they didn't use. That's my problem with Iron Man 3. They had this super badass, awesome character played by Ben Kingsley. Like, he's a huge actor, and you get him to play this character, and he's a complete fucking joke. Like, when they revealed to the audience that, this is the Mandarin, like, who he really is, everyone was laughing their asses off, saying that was so funny. My jaw dropped to the floor, and I was so pissed off, and that pissed me off so much. And they knew, and I was thinking, oh, maybe they'll do something like from Batman Begins, where it's really just this other guy that's this character. And they do that kind of, but the problem with that is it's Guy Pearce that's pretty much the Mandarin, but not really, because he's the Mandarin. What Ben Kingsley was pretending he was pretty much the Mandarin in a metaphorical way. Like, he was making up all the plans for, the Mandarin, not really because he was the Mandarin. And that is so cheap. Like, that is, like, this movie making 101. If you're gonna make a plot twist, make it a good fucking plot twist, and one that doesn't cheat the audience. That is so fucking lame and lazy. Like, come on. That was so fucking cheap and stupid. That really fucking pissed me off. Like, if they weren't gonna do the rings, and I didn't expect them to, at least make him like a really threatening, really badass terrorist leader. And what pisses me off even more is that they set this fucking character up 2 movies ago in the first Iron Man movie. In fact, early drafts of the first Iron Man movie, they had the Mandarin in it. He was the main villain, and they were going to set up Ironmonger through 3 films, and he was supposed to be the villain in this 3rd movie, but they scrapped him, and now we finally get him 3 movies 5 years later, and he's a fucking joke just to make people laugh. Well, that's basically what a joke is, but he's basically just there just as a fucking patsy, pretty much. Just as someone to blame for something else. That is so fucking weak. In fact, like, even I was watching the Daily Show, like before Iron Man 3 had come out, and Robert Downey Jr. was on it. It was like, he said that he wanted to use the Mandarin in the first Iron Man movie, and he must have been pissed that they didn't get to use him. And a lot of people must have been pissed that they didn't get to use him, and they must have been pissed off even more to see what that character was reduced to here. Especially because he's not just, like, one of Iron Man's, you know, villains or whatever. No, he's Iron Man's, like, main villain. Like, the Mandarin is to Iron Man what, like, the Joker is to Batman, or what Lex Luthor is to Superman, and they didn't do that here at all, and that's so... I'm not even that big of an Iron Man fan. That pissed me off. Imagine what the Iron Man fans thought. In fact, that's the reason why a lot of people are hating on this movie, mostly because of the Mandarin, and while I do think... I've been bitching about this for 5 minutes now. Of course I think that's a bad idea, but I don't think that's the whole reason to hate the movie for. I do hate that one fucking thing in this movie. I won't ever forgive this movie for that. That's probably why I liked Iron Man a little bit better. They didn't advertise the villain to you and then pretend that he wasn't that, but, you know, whatever. Whatever.